All right, shalom, shalom, boys. Here. Well, it's clearly I've been having some difficulty with getting this thing up, but I think I got it all figured out. I think I got to definitely do some more YouTube videos or watch some more YouTube videos on how to go about doing this streaming stuff and scheduling it. But let me go ahead and copy this thing. And yeah, I'm still streaming. And I will send it on over to Facebook. Okay, so we got it there as well. And then let me go ahead. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm just not this real tech savvy. I got to really get into this stuff, man. I got me a little multi monitor support, and as well as one of these Apple computers. So, but I haven't learned a lot of it. So, let's just get right into it. Um, as I said earlier, one of the things that I wanted to do was basically just to start doing live streamed videos talking about basically carpentry work and why it's so important to get into carpentry work and why you should be interested at this time. Because as we see in the economy, we see people losing their jobs at an exponential rate. But not only do we see people losing their jobs, we also see people having to work low wage um, jobs in order to survive. And not only do they have to work these low wage jobs, they have to take multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. And it's a sad deal to see families having to struggle today. And so what we have to do is we have to be proactive in our ability to get out there and think outside the box so that we're not enslaved by this system. Uh, it's a sad thing to look out in society today and to see all of the despair and all of the heartache that people are experiencing as a direct result of uh, this economic decline that we're experiencing. And so the name of the game is that we have to be about solutions. And, I think about it, more and more. What did we used to do in the past? When I talk about uh, folks coming out of slavery, coming out of Jim Crow, what did we used to do? We used to be tradesmen. We owned our own little businesses. Uh, we were skilled people. When I look at the scriptures, when I look at how we used to live and how we used to provide for ourselves, we were farmers. We were an agricultural people. We learned how to grow food. We learned how to raise animals. We learned how to do all of these things due to the simple fact that um, this is how we gained our freedom. This is how we gained our independence. Because if you can provide for yourself, if you can produce for yourself, it's very difficult for secular government to control you. And this is why they want to usher into this digital currency and do all of this stuff, because it's this the easiest way to enslave a people. And when we look at society today, it seems as though everybody's going to these slave wage jobs now, whether it's low and paying jobs or corporate jobs. Because as I've said in the past, I come from a corporate environment, and being in a corporate environment is a totally different world uh, when it comes to the opportunities, the lifestyle, uh, the things that you were going to experience. And for the most part, they were good experiences. But in the corporate world, it's just dog eat dog. This is just a shark infested environment. And if you ain't watching your back, you can get cut deep. I mean, I like the idea of when I was working, from home, because that was the biggest thing. Working from home was something that we did back then in implementation. I had my own office. Now it seems to be the norm, but it was very cool to work from home because pretty much, as long as you had an internet connection, you can pretty much work from anywhere. And so that's what I did. But coming over to the carpentry side and coming out of her and moving from the city into the country, uh, I was able to learn quick, fast, in a hurry that uh, to be out here, you needed to be able to build, you needed to be able to cultivate, you needed to be able to hunt, you needed to be able to fish, you needed to be able to do these things for yourself, how to fix things, so forth and so on, so that you're not dependent on the system to do it for you. And so when we look uh, at society today, we see that there is a serious decline in the number of skilled tradesmen uh, in this country. You see countries like China and India that has massive workforces. They know how to build, they know how to produce. But then you see in America, all we are is consumers today. And that's a sad deal because then we don't know how to create, we don't know how to produce for ourselves. And so when it comes time for the bill to come due, a lot of people are going to be hurting. Uh, and why? Because they simply put, they cannot produce for themselves. So this is why I get on here, and this is why I advocate the need to learn how to be a carpenter. And we're going to be getting into all facets of how I learned how to be a carpenter, how I got into doing what I do, the evolution that I'm continuously going through now, the things that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made. Because it's one thing to tell somebody to do something, but it's another thing to guide them and walk them through it. And what we have today is we don't have a, 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 a vast swath of contractors that are going out and doing the business, um, to give an example to everybody else of how we should be doing the business. Because I mean, people can do anything pretty much for money in this day and age. But the idea of being able to work with your hands, to be able to build something, to create something, not only for yourself, but for the client, it's nothing but I mean, it's a truly an exhilarating experience. And so, and they say, when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Um, and it's a blessing to be able to love what I do. When I get up in the morning time, and I go to a job site, I go there with a sense of excitement. I go there with a sense of the ability to learn, the ability to grow and to develop. I mean, I see all of these things in me. And hey, it's just a beautiful thing that a lot of people are going to be able to do the same thing and are doing the same thing. Because, I try my best to reach out to fellow carpenters that are doing what we're doing, and to learn and to share ideas, to learn from their mistakes, and they can learn from my mistakes. So, it's an important thing uh, to do, especially in this day and age, because there's so many benefits uh, to being a carpenter. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, it tells you seek the old path, seek the old ways in terms of being able to do these things so that you can be self-sufficient, so that you can uh, ensure that you can provide for yourself and your family. Now, I'm talking to the men here. So, um, what are the benefits? First and foremost, of course, we see the economic benefits. Um, the ability to produce for yourself and your family, not to be able to depend on the system, um, is just a powerful thing. It's a liberating thing because regardless of what the system is doing, you don't have to depend on somebody else to give you a paycheck in order to provide for you and your family. When you're able to get up and go out and truly be a producer and get that increase, it's a very exhilarating experience because you're entering into a private contract. And that's how I look at when I do business. I enter into a private contract with another private citizen, and we do private business. Um, and I provide goods and services, and they provide resources to me, so that I can take those resources and provide for my family. And when I say resources, it could be cash, it could be tools, it could be borrowing, it could be materials, it can be in exchange for something that they can do. I exchange all of these things because those are good, legitimate forms of being able to get payment. So, number two, not only is the economic, but the skills. Now, when we look at skills, I always say all the time real skills, real assets, and real friends. And getting on the skill side, when you have a real skill, um, there's so much that you can do with that real skill to provide true value to society. And they say, at any given time, what the basis of a good business model is find a need and fill it. You see, find a need and fill it. Not all business are needs-based businesses, and we're entering in a time in this depression that I believe that we're in, that excuse me. Damn apples. But as we go into depression that we're in, are you going to be able to produce and develop real skills so that you can provide for your family? When we look at um, the job market, a lot of people are losing their jobs this year. But if you have real skills and you can enter into private agreements with other homeowners, with other private citizens to provide them with goods and services, i.e., um, you know, everybody needs some place to live. Everybody has a home, right? Well, a lot of people have homes. You drive down the street, these are all homeowners, whether they are mortgagees, retirees, business owners. These structures have to be taken care of. These structures have to be um, maintained. The foundation work, either whether it's building or maintaining. I'm more so on the maintaining side, as well as the building side, but I do a lot of maintaining, a lot of refurbishing, a lot of modeling. Um, so when you know how to lay sheetrock, or when you know how to lay block, or when you know how to frame, or when you know how to put down tiling, or when you know how to do crown molding or base molding, or when you know how to do bathroom models or kitchen remodels or custom kitchen cabinets, or whatever it may be that goes into a house, plumbing, electrical, you provide a real skill and a real service, or you have a real skill and you provide a real skill to those people that are in need. Perfect example. This is a perfect example. We have four wood stoves installed in various structures on land. And throughout the year, those wood stoves are in use. Or, throughout the fall, those wood stoves are in use. And so I have to service those wood stoves. I have to get up, I have to clean out the chimney, I got to go down, I got to take apart the parts for the wood stove, I got to see if anything is broken in it. I got to replace any of the parts. A perfect example here is that I had to replace some of the parts for the wood stove that I have here, right? And so I'm able to do that, and I don't have to hire somebody else. However, at the same time, there are other people that have wood stoves, and so therefore, as a direct result of having those real skills, I get to go out and service those chimneys and those wood stoves or those fireplaces to ensure that they're safe, right? And I also get to get paid for it. And it doesn't take a lot of time to service a wood stove. I mean, it really doesn't take long to service a fireplace. You make sure that the chimney's clean. You make sure that it doesn't have any kind of obstructions in the ways. You make sure that the top is clean, that there's no bird nests or anything in there. If you have to clean out the chimney, you get one of those metal brushes or wire brushes that they make for chimneys. You clean that out. You take the soot out. Boom, done deal. And it's ready to go. And you test it out, and it's ready to go. Clients, people today don't know how to do these basic things, but um, uh, you can make a lot of money by doing that because it's real skills. It's providing a real service to the economy, and I don't care what the economy is doing. People are going to need these real services, right? As they go forward, they're going to need this stuff. People are going to say, well, am I going to buy a piece of jewelry, or am I going to service my wood stove? Am I going to buy some Balenciaga or something, or am I going to maintain my kitchen and my bathroom, and so forth and so on? You see, they're gonna make the conscious choice and the decision to say, you know what should I do with my money? Should I spend it on clothing or sneakers or anything like that, or am I going to spend that money on things that have true value? You see, so you got the skill set there. Number one, number two, so I'm sorry, number three I got is resources. Now, when you think about resources, and let's pair that up with a homestead, because recently I've been subscribing to a lot of other homesteader videos, people that own homesteads, as well as people that own communities. And I'm watching them build. I'm watching them create. I'm watching them use 2x4s, 2x6s, screws, nails, hammers, all of these things for those who are building and are expanding their homesteads, because there's a lot of things that need to get done on a homestead, right? Or community. There's a lot of things that need to get done. So I'm in a position as a carpenter to go out there and provide my services, but also I get good deals and I get good discounts on material. I'm getting great discounts on all types of material, and it gives me access to resources that I didn't have access before as just a regular Joe Blow walking in the Lowe's or Home Depot. Not only do I have access to steeply discounted material at Lowe's or Home Depot, but I also get out lined in and access to other carpenters and other contractors that do have excess material, and I get to leverage that stuff as well. You see? So there's benefit on top of benefit on top of benefit of ensuring that you're able to get the resources that you need. Because if I'm going to use 2x4s on a job site, I'm going to use 2x4s here. If I'm going to use 2x4s or screws on a job site, I'm going to use screws here, nails here, sheetrock here, metal here, 2x6s here, 2x8s here, sheetrock, mud, tape, screws, all that stuff I use here, right? And so being able to have access to those resources, I don't have to spend my money to buy it retail at the store. I'll give you a perfect example. It's taken a couple of years, but I have all of the red metal necessary to redo my roof. I want to do it in a red metal instead of the green metal that's on there. And not only am I going to do that, but I'm going to take off that green metal, stack it, and use it for something else. Use it for some chicken coops or some dog, but not dog, sheep pens or chicken pens or something like that, where I can reuse that material because I don't want it to go to waste. You see? But I have the ability to leverage the years that I've been doing carpentry now, a couple of years that I've been doing carpentry now, getting that material at steeply discounted prices, storing it here, and then when I'm ready to do my projects, I can do my projects. Do you know, it's amazing how metal roofs are measured at the linear foot, right? So before you could get like metal for like $2 a linear foot. Now it's going for like $3-4 a linear foot. I don't remember the last time I did a metal roof. And, I go on a job site, right? Or I go in and I'll give an estimate to a customer. I used to say, because I've done several metal roofs. But as of late, I'll go and I'll get an estimate on a metal roof. I got to get up there. I got to take the measurements. Anybody know anything about metal roofs? You got to take all the measures. You got to find out how many squares there are on a roof, and then you got to estimate how many valleys you need, how many roof starters you need, how much trim you need, how much ridge cap you need, how much end cap you need, how much flashing you need. You got to estimate all of that stuff, and that takes time, right? And then you got to go back and then you get the estimate, and then I bring the estimate back to the client, and the client says, "Wow, it doesn't cost that much to put a metal roof on." Because now it's $4 a linear foot now. Before it was $2. So the price is going up. And we don't see the prices coming down for metal. I speak to distributors. The man that trained me when I initially started off in the business, he is best friends with the guy that I get the bill. He owns, the metal business in town. And so I know what the price used to be, and I know what the price is now. It's a whole lot more expensive to do this stuff. So I thank the Father that I was able to load up as much metal as possible. So now that I have those resources to get those jobs done. And number 4, I'm going to put on is networking. It is critical that if you're going to be a carpenter, that you're going to have to network in your local community because as well as regional and nationally, but mostly locally, because the vast majority of the business that you're going to get is going to be within 15, 20 minutes, half hour tops of where you actually live. That's why location is very important when it comes to landing businesses. Okay. So, you're going to be, these are the benefits, the networking, the skills, the economy, the resources that you get as a direct result of doing these businesses in carpentry and being skilled. You can leverage these things for yourself and your homestead. You see? And so the idea is that the ultimate goal is to be debt free and financially independent. And you can do that. Okay? You can definitely do that, but it's going to take some work. And so let me go back to the beginning of how I got into carpentry and what inspired me to do it. Okay. So, working in corporate America, I got laid off a couple of times, and it happens. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they got downsides, and I got laid off. And every time I got laid off, it was just tight during the time span that I knew this brother named Elder Felix that came into the faith as well. And he's on since passed on. But I met him, and I mean, a man with just an excellent spirit. I mean, I just miss him so much because he was like the first inspiration or that inspired me to get into the business. And when I wasn't working, what I'd do is I'd go with Elder Felix at the time. This is before even knowing that we were Israelites. Go with him to his little job sites and doing a little handyman work. And I noticed a lot of cash changing hands at that time. And so we would go and do any kind of, a multitude of jobs, fix sheetrock ceiling, do a little bit of framing, fix some shingles on a roof, all of this stuff in South Jersey where I met him. And so, it was a good introduction into learning. I wasn't doing that. And he was like, hey, man, if you ain't doing that, why don't you come with me and you can learn something. You can work, you know what I'm saying? And learn, a new skill. So I was like, great. And prior to that, when I was in corporate, I owned a multifamily house. And so I owned a house in South Jersey, and I also owned a multifamily house, which I kept a basement apartment in North Jersey. And at that multifamily, as well as the house in South Jersey, it needed maintenance. And I remember one time the line busted, the water line busted in the basement. And I turned around and I called up Roto-Rooter to come out because, of course, the tenants need water. I need water. We all have apartments. It was a 3-story apartment, a 2-2-1. So it was 2 bedrooms and 1 bedroom. And then I kept a basement apartment that I hired somebody to build out for me. So I get the bill, and this guy took about 5 minutes to fix the copper pipe. The copper pipe. It took him 5 minutes, and he gave me a bill, and the bill was $495. I said, "Are you serious?" I didn't think it would take him too long to do, and it did take him too long to do. I just didn't know how to do it. At that point in time, I knew that I was on the wrong side of the business. At that point in time, I knew, because I'm looking at all this cash changing hands, and I'm saying, "Are you serious? It took 15 minutes to make 250 or $495. That's how long it took to make that." So I was inspired at that point in time to learn how to uh, uh, do and work with my hands. Because, hey, man, if I'm not going to do it, then I'm going to have to pay somebody else $495. So I learned how to solder. And at that point in time, you couldn't use CPVC or PVC or PEX or anything like that. None of that was up to code. It was all copper. It was all copper. When you replaced the line, you replaced it with copper. So you needed to know how to solder. So I ended up resoldering and doing all the copper lines in the basement of my the house that I had in South Jersey at the time. But if I had to chart, if somebody had to pay me to do all that copper work to replace all them lines in the basement, it was glad, because I just look up and I could just see all of the copper lines. But if I pay somebody to do that, it would have cost thousands of dollars to replace all those copper lines. But I was able to do it myself. And so fast forward years later, um, hey, you're moving out and you're moving in the country and you're changing the economy. You're gonna have to learn a new skill. You're gonna have to learn something that's gonna have to pay the bills, because moved out debt free. Land was paid for. Didn't have to worry about no 30-year fix or anything like that. Own well water, wood stoves, everything is possible off grid. Ragged lamb, deer, hunting deer, all of that stuff off grid. But you still need some income. You still need to, have some positive cash flow. And so looking at, our people, right? And it's like, hey, man, you can learn carpentry. You can actually do this as a business. And so the name of the game is, how do I do this locally, right? And so I'm listening to a preacher. I'm listening to Pastor Dow preach about how he learned carpentry, where he learned how to, well, basically what he did was he went up to a job site and he told the people that he worked for free. He worked for free, right? If they just trained him. Now, at the time, I thought that was a crazy idea, because how am I going to give my time and my energy, my resources for free, and in exchange for them to train me? At the time, it didn't kind of make any sense, because, hey, man, I got bills to pay. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if it worked for him, let me apply it. So I did the same thing. Went up to a job site, said, hey, listen here. I don't know nothing about carpentry work, even though I had this previous experience with Elder Phyllis, as well as having a multifamily. I just said, let me just start it off with a clean slate. Let me just tell these people the same thing. I don't know anything. I don't know any carpentry work. But if you train me, I'll be willing to work for free. Guy looked at me, said, okay. 2 weeks later, he calls me up, right? Calls me up. Now, I knew I'd have to go through a test, a hard test. And I trained under these people for about 2.5 years before I went in on my own. But let me tell you, man, it was the most grueling 2.5 years I think I've ever had. I mean, them people worked me to the bone. Now, did they give me a stipend, a daily stipend? Of course. You know what I'm saying? And that's typically how it works out. They'll be willing to, give you a little something, something. But the idea is that being debt free, having no mortgage, having no car note, having no water bill, having no gas bill, having no heating bill, and you just have your basic expenses, it will cover it. So I did that. And then when it came time, I launched my own business, Covenant Contracting Services, which I do now. Okay. Now, Covenant Contracting Services, not Covenant Contracting Services LLC, not Covenant Contracting Services Corp. It's just Covenant Contracting Services. It's just me. It's a business that I created. It's not an LLC or anything like that. I ain't see the importance and need to do all of that. I'm entering into private contracts with private citizens, and we're exchanging goods and services. And I suggest that's how we should all do business, set apart. But the idea is that that's how I got into it. Now, a lot of people, they don't want to go through the initial pain of learning a new skill. They don't want to go through the initial pain of getting the sacrifice and getting the things done necessary in order to um, uh, uh, get the increase at a later date. But you got to be willing to go through the sacrifice. You have to be willing to go through the pain and and the heartache of learning something new, because when you learn and you go through adversity, when you learn, you grow, you see. And so now, about 3 years later in the business is doing very well. I mean, the clientele is just going vertical. The business is going vertical. I'm doing better quality business. I'm able to charge more. I have every single tool necessary, all paid for. I mean, I was bringing talking to Brother Ken, another Israelite carpenter out of Texas, and we must estimate we have about $40,000-$50,000 worth of tools alone that we have in order to get the job done. Now, you don't have to start off with $40,000-$50,000 with the tools. It's something just like anything else. As you do jobs, you work your way up. And so a lot of people are concerned about, number one, how are they going to, I tell you, man, these stink bugs, I've never seen them until recently, the last 2 years, but it's just become an epidemic now of them all over the damn place. They getting in everywhere. Um, I digress. But the idea is that you can get into it, but it's going to take hard work. And we live in a world and in a society today where nobody wants to put in hard work. Nobody wants to make the hardcore sacrifices. Everybody wants something immediately. Everybody wants something now. Give it to me now. I want Bitcoin, and I want it to go from $10 to $1,000. Give me Ethereum. Give me anything that's going to circumvent me from having to work hard to produce something for myself and my family. This is the standard mentality of people today, and it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work long term. It's not working well for a lot of people today, and it's sad to see people fall into such economic despair as we look out. Um, it's a blessing today to be able to just take your. I was saying in a video earlier, it's just a blessing today just to take your family out to dinner or out to lunch or out to breakfast. It's a blessing today to just be able to take your children to the park or to a water park, I mean, or to Chuck E. Cheese or to the jump park. It's get, excuse me, it's getting more and more expensive to do these basic things, to go out to dinner, to go out to a movie. These basic things. I'm not talking about nothing extravagant, not alone going to a play, go to a movie, or go on a trip overseas or something like that. For the average American, hey, we're done for. We're working two jobs. We're struggling to make ends meet. And it's a sad deal. It really is a sad deal. The American dream has literally become the American nightmare. And the reason why it's a nightmare is because they've sold us on the notion that we can get something for nothing. But that's just not true. Anything that you're going to accomplish in life that's worthwhile is going to come as a direct result of hard work and commitment and sacrifice and failures and successes and mistakes and lessons learned. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. And so if you're able to do these things and if you're able to stay focused, you're able to get the reward. So, in the introduction in this first video, I would definitely say, um, uh, get up under somebody that knows how to build, that knows how to fix, that knows how to do these things, and learn from them, and then go out and duplicate that by starting your own little business, your own little crew. This is an excellent way to start out, and the entry point is low. There's no regulation really that's involved in it. Again, why? Because see, this is why they are hiring all these tax agents and stuff, because they understand that businesses like ours is very difficult to track our income because we're entering into private agreements with private citizens, and more often than not, private citizens that I deal with entering into private contracts, they are just as happy to keep government out of their home just as much as I am. That's just the truth. And so you're going to have tax obligations and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not as severe as somebody that's like a W 2 employee. You see? I mean, it's just the truth. And so this is why they want to do away with cash and stuff. This is why they want everything to be tracked on a digital ledger called the blockchain. This is exactly why they want it, because then they can track and trace everything that you do. But when you follow these economic laws, these principles of being debt free and financially independent and having real skills, you don't really have to worry about or be too much concerned about all of these rules and regulations that they got. Just know how to do business. Very important. So if you want to learn something, you have to first get around someone, people, whether it's on a job site, submitting your time to a foreman in a job site like I did, getting up under and being an apprentice and working with somebody else, getting on a homestead or a community and spending some time there to learn something as they build. And then take that knowledge, take that skill set, take those resources, take that information and go and apply it where you are. That's the best thing that you can possibly do, especially in this time. Especially in this time. I mean, there's just so much work coming down the pike. I've been saying it over and over and over again for years. The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. There's very few people that's willing to invest in themselves. I see over and over again of how people are talking about you need to invest in, crypto and so forth and so on. But some of the wisest advice I've seen out there for folks, you want to invest in something, invest in yourself. Invest in developing real skills. Because that's going to get you through the hard times. That's going to get you through the hard times that are already here for the vast majority of Americans. And that's coming for a whole lot more Americans. A lot of people are just done for. They are truly done for. And it's sad to see because people will not change the course and the direction that they're going. They refuse to change their minds, thinking that being passive and not willing to work hard and put together good detailed plans and executing on those plans are going to, they're just hoping on a miracle. It's sad. People are just shooting in the dark. What is that going to get you? It's not going to get you anything. I haven't seen anybody get anything as a direct result of it long term, and I'm not expecting anybody to get anything. So I see the same pattern that people are fashioning themselves around. They want something for nothing. They want the easy way, and it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to have to make some serious sacrifices if you're going to achieve anything serious in life. If you're going to achieve levels to where money works for you and you don't have to work for money all the time, where your situation economically is so that you don't have to worry about the shocks of the system because you've prepared your house, that you've done stuff like having an emergency fund, that you're debt free, that you're not running up a whole bunch of credit card debt, that you're not living above your means, that you're not spending money unwisely. Uh, that you have an emergency fund, that you have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses put aside just in case something happens. These are all principles that you can apply. It'll take time, it'll take effort and energy and resources, um, but you can get it done. So, with that being said, um, I'm going to close that part out and then get into, basically just sharing ideas with people. And I'll be hitting on different topics, on a week by week basis of the different things that I do um, in order to gen up business, how I market business, how I do invoicing, how I network with other carpenters. All of these things I'll be going through time and time again, or each time as I do a live stream, and I promise I'll get it better the next time around. But uh, when it comes to pricing your jobs, I think the most powerful thing that you can do when you're on job site is just to collect the information. So when I go to a job site, unless I know specifically what's going on when it comes to material, if I can price it out, excuse me, ooh, excuse me, oof, if I can price it out right then and there, I'll price it out. But if I can't, I'll tell the client that uh, it's going to take me a minute to put the estimate together because there could be a lot of intricacies associated with it. They could have subfloor work. They could have, let's say, a bathroom remodel. They could have subfloor work. They could have um, uh, uh, sheetrock work. They could have demo work. They can have all of these things. So I have to make sure that I'm sitting down and I'm going line by line. And I'm looking at what the average price is. I'm looking at what the national averages is. This is information that you can Google, but it's also good to be able to reach out to um, other carpenters that are in the area or regionally so that you can bounce these prices off of. I'll give you a perfect example. I was doing a large sheetrock job, but I didn't take into consideration the sheetrock repair, right? So as I'm going through hanging the sheetrock, I'm patching a hole here, I'm patching a hole here, and before you know it, probably took about a day or two's worth of work just patching up all of the stuff in the house. Well, I turn around and I submit the invoice with a separate line item, and they took a little issue with it. And I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? It took two days, you know what I'm saying? I would estimate to patch all of these damn holes that's in here. Now, did I argue about it? You know what I'm saying? Hey, it was just a lesson learned. So now I know that I want to price my patch job different from my sheetrock job, even though it was some good money when it came to um, doing a sheetrock job. You see what I'm saying? But the sheetrock repair job was something totally different that I should have priced differently. You see? But see, these are the things that you are going to learn, and this is why it's so beautiful to share these ideas and share these resources and share this information with other carpenters and get on the phone with other contractors, carpenters. Hey, listen here. What are you charging for drywall? What are you charging for laying carpet? What are you charging for laying laminate flooring? I know specifically what pricing. Now it's all garbled up and stuff, but at the end of the day, I know I want to make sure that for every day that I work, I cover 1 month's worth of expenses. Right now, everybody's expenses is different. Mine's is lower because I'm out in the country and I'm not in any debt. But still, I want to make sure that I cover at least for every day to day and a half of work, I'm covering 1 month's worth of expenses. Those are my targets right there. You see? So your target can be different. You know what I'm saying? But at the end, because when you start, when you leave, you know what I'm saying, when you start your jobs, me personally, I'll start probably because I have things to do in the homestead and I got other responsibilities, I can't start all the time at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning time. I gotta start like, excuse me, whew, hold on. I had to start at like 11 o'clock, and I'll finish at like 4 or 5 o'clock because that is a typical day's worth of work for me. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that you can take into consideration, or that you have to take into consideration, especially if you're on a homestead and you're doing stuff like this, because every situation is different. But the beautiful thing is that on the back end, you can discuss these things with other carpenters so that you can maximize your profit, what you should be charging, what you shouldn't be charging, things that you should be missing out on, things that you should be making sure that the client pays for instead of you paying for. You see? Like, for instance, if I use an oscillating blade, if I use a sawzall blade, if I use a circular saw blade, woo, that yarn again. Don't know where it's coming from. Um, but I know I'll sleep good tonight. Sure will. But the idea is that all of these different tools that you use, there's blades attached to them. And you know how much an oscillating pack of three costs? 30, 40, $50. That should be worked into the cost of your invoicing to ensure that you're passing those costs to the client. Another thing is location, location, location. You need to ensure that you're in the right market. Me personally, there's three types of clientele that I deal with, and I deal with them only: retirees, upper middle class, and business owners. Why? Because these are the kind of people, the caliber of people that just write the check, as opposed to somebody that's working a 9 to 5 job. You're gonna haggle with them back and forth. I ain't got time for all of that. I don't waste my time with those kind of pieces of business anymore. If you ain't got the check to write it, if you ain't got the cash for me, if we ain't bartering something that you know what I'm saying I can exchange, I'm not interested in doing business with them anybody else, because it's just a hassle. It's just a headache. You see what I'm saying? So the idea is that, location, location, location. Who's the market that you're servicing? How much you're charging? Are you taking into consideration taxation and inflation? Typically, if you spent $15,000 on material, guess what it's going to cost you to install that material? 15,000. Those are how those numbers work typically. Other things you can charge by the linear foot. Other things that you can charge, like, for instance, you're charging metal roofing by the square. You're charging shingle roofing by the square. You're charging crown and base molding by the linear foot. You're charging painting by the square foot. You're charging sheetrock by the square foot. You're charging laminate flooring, or to do tile flooring, you're charging that by the square foot. So if I got 800 square foot of laminate flooring to lay, and I'm charging $3 a square foot, that's what I'm charging. You see what I'm saying? So it's just little things like that that you got to know in terms of pricing out your business, so that you can ensure that you're maximizing profits. Because at the end of the day, as a carpenter, as a contractor, you are a professional. You're going into a business or a client's home, and you're making their vision come to pass. They have a vision of something that they want to see. And it's your responsibility to make that happen for them. It's amazing how much tips that I get due to the simple fact that how I do my job and how I relate to the client, how I go above and beyond the call of duty. A perfect example, I went out and I did a chimney sweep. Sweep the chimney. I got some black paint, some eye heat paint. I resprayed the grade that was in the fireplace to make it nice and black and sleek again. I brought the firewood. I bought them fire starters and stuff, cardboard and stuff. I fired up the wood stove. I cleaned it out for them. I told them what they needed to be purchasing in terms of tools, uh, um, uh, how often you need to remove the soot or the wood ash, what you can do with the wood ash. You see, going above and beyond the call of duty when it came to servicing that client. And it took more time to explain everything to them and just chit chat than it did to actually perform the cleaning, the looking down the chimney, the cleaning out of the wood ash, the loading of the wood and starting a flame for them so that they can sure testing the blower, making recommendations in terms of what they needed to replace. They'll call me every year from now on. And I got to go in the summertime to replace a dampener in there because it's broken, but because it's a fireplace, it's not going to prevent them from using their fireplace. But I'll charge them $250 to cut out that piece, go down to the to the metal shop, get a piece fabricated, go to my welding guy, will spot weld it right on the spot and go in and install it in their fireplace. You see, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. This is the kind of creativity that I'm talking about. And the entry point to clean uh, chimneys is not that high. It's just a brush and a flashlight, really, and a bag and a scoop of the scoop out the wood ash. So these are the kind of opportunities, and I have wood stoves. You see one going on right now. So the idea is that these are the opportunities are there. This is how you go about doing these things. This is how you maximize profit. We're going to be getting into more of this stuff next week. I may change the time. Um, but this is the deal right here. These are the opportunities. This is the way in which you can go about getting things done. Because uh, let me tell you, man, it's a sad thing to see uh, people fall into financial despair, whether it's because of fiscal irresponsibility or because of external factors that they fail to see coming down the pike. It's a grievous thing to see people in an economic decline when all they have to do is literally get up off their ass, learn a new skill, stop being lazy, and get things done. Well, I think I relayed enough information for tonight. It's going to be probably I'll do it again next week or during the weekend. Carpenter's Corner. Uh, please share the information. Share this with any other brothers because again, I don't know many uh, 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 carpenters, let alone Israelite ones, but I don't know many carpenters. Um, that are doing this. I see a lot of people marching. I see a lot of people flopping their guns, but I don't see a lot of people getting things done. Um, it's sad, but get this information out to other carpenters that do you see doing contracting businesses, doing laying tile, um, doing sheetrock, um, plastering, stonework, all of that stuff is valuable. All of those things are real skills, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this Carpenters Corner is so that those carpenters that we can begin to share information, share the knowledge, share the wisdom, share the experiences with one another, so that we can take it back to our respective locations and implement it. But not only that, there's opportunities. I mean, this can go a couple of different ways. I mean, my overall goal is to network with 10 other carpenters, just 10 other carpenters, because, it's not like having the ability to say, you know what, brother, you out there in Mississippi or you out there in Tennessee, brother, I got a big sheetrock job coming up. We got 500 sheets to lay. Come on out for the week, get him saying, and let's get this thing done. Or another brother that needs help that doesn't have assistance and vice versa. And we can go out there. And everybody can get paid and everybody can make a shitload of money at the same time. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing and an opportunity out there that we are actively doing. These things are actively taking place now. There's brothers that are actively networking and sharing information and sharing ideas on how we can do a better job at servicing our clients as well as maximizing profits. This is actively taking place, but we need to expand it. We need to include more brethren that are doing this. And again, me personally, I know probably uh, one, two, three, four, five, five or six. I know four of them. We all post stuff on Facebook and on YouTube. And the other two, I don't think they post much, but I know because they say that they do carpentry work. But could you imagine how much wisdom and information that these people have to share in terms of how to price jobs, jobs to avoid, how to overcome obstacles and problems, um, all of these things. These people can share this information, and so this is what I'm after. I'm after the information, so that we can share this information, and so that we can do a better job of uh, uh, servicing our clients, servicing our homesteads, servicing our communities, servicing our families, uh, and being free. I see nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I'll tell you again, uh, the past year has been such a blessing in business. I mean, it's just opened up so many opportunities, and things are just going vertical. Um, Let me tell you, man, I'm looking forward uh, to the year uh, 2024. No, 2023. Excuse me. It's going to be a great year. But if you have a great mind and you have a great vision and you have a great spirit about yourself, because see, we see what's going on in the world. We see the calamity of what's going on in the world. We see the despair. We see the starvation. We see the hunger. We see the prices. Uh, uh, we see what's going on in society. I mean, people are just killing folk left and right. People are just as cruel towards one another as you've ever seen. And it's amazing how you watch people today that claim that uh, they're good Christians or they're good Israelites and be so cruel towards one another. It's just amazing. Um, but when you know spiritual warfare, when you've been trained uh, to understand what to watch out for, you can clearly see Satan hands moving. I'm telling you, and it's a sad deal. It really is. So all of these things are going on in the world. And just because the world is going batshit insane, that doesn't mean that your world has to do the same thing. Um, I'm for dwelling in peace. I'm for being living a peaceable and quiet life. Um, Avoid all drama. Avoid all foolishness. Avoid Satan. I mean, avoid all of this stuff, and it'll give you a peace of mind when you're not inundated with a whole bunch of foolishness. Because it's been my personal experience is that the people that are acting crazy the most, they're just obsessed. I mean, they're just possessed by the devil. Nothing in their life is going well. This is what I've personally experienced and what I've personally seen. People in their lives, nothing is going well in their lives. And so, as a direct result of nothing going well in their life, they want nothing to go well in your life because it's like crabs in a barrel. So you stay far away from such people because they ain't about nothing. They ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't gonna be nothing. They ain't gonna produce nothing because they ain't worth nothing. They're pieces of crap, and this all you get is crap out of them. And so let the Most High deal with them, and you go ahead and you do and you get and stay focused on your purpose. I hope I was able to say something that was stimulating, that was encouraging, because at the end of the day, everybody can do this thing. You mean to tell me that you can pack bags at Walmart or you can stock shelves at Walmart, but you can't do any kind of sheetrock work? You can work at the chicken plant, working at them grueling ass jobs, but you can't lay floor. You can't do framing work. You can't do subfloor work. You can't put on shingles. You can't put on metal roof. You can't fix sheetrock. You can't do drywall repair. You can't um, install kitchen cabinets. You can't. You mean to tell me that you can't do any of these things? You can't lay laminate flooring. You can't um, do concrete work. You can't do tile work. You can't hang fixtures. You can't hang chandeliers. You can't paint. You can't paint cabinets. You can't put in doors. I can go on about things that are necessary to be done in the house that people have consistently called me up and paid me handsomely to do. You can't do any of those things? I beg to differ. I believe that uh, if we can work Dollar General, we can do something in the spectrum of carpentry work. It may not be carpentry work. It may be fixing refrigerators, fixing lawnmowers, small engine repair. You know how much money I spent on this lawnmower that I got? It keeps on breaking down, and I keep on. But we looked at the invoice at the garden center that I take the lawnmower to. And he said, man, you spent just as much money on the lawnmower fixing it than you did purchasing it from us. So they was like, listen here, we're not going to fix this anymore. We're going to get you a new lawnmower. We're not going to fix this thing anymore. They're looking at the purchase agreement, the purchase. They're looking at my history of how many times excuse me. Of how many times I've brought this lawnmower in. I can't seem to find a local guy that's working out of the back of his truck to service the lawnmower. Now, I'm not, I try and be a jack of all trades. I've tried to fix it a couple of times. I think it's a short somewhere. My fuse keeps on blowing on this Club Claudette lawnmower. But I'm going to go ahead and invest and get a new one. The guys issued me some store credit where I can go ahead and make 3 payments. The lawnmower I'm looking at is $1,500. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll make 3 payments on the lawnmower throughout the wintertime, so that by the spring I can go ahead and get this nice zero-turn lawnmower. And this is a used lawnmower, but I prefer to buy used as opposed to new. And I know that he serviced it, and I know that they've taken care of it. And he ain't gonna sell me nothing a piece of crap. I mean, I've done a lot of business in the garden supply store, and so he's gonna issue me some credit so I can go ahead, some in-store credit so I can go ahead and pay it off, and so that again, by the time the spring comes, I have a zero-turn lawnmower. But it'd be beautiful if there was a local business that knew how to repair lawnmowers and come and service it on site. It'd be cheaper to do it with somebody like that, but hey, who want to work? See, these are all types of little opportunities that are available. Whether it's, like I said, fixing refrigerators and AC heating and repair, or fixing lawnmowers, fixing small engines, rebuilding small engines. Y'all can't do any of that? There's people that can't do any of that? I beg to differ. I think the issue and the problem is, which we're attempting to address, is how you go about doing this and getting first having the motivation to do it yourself. But then once you have the motivation to do it, how do you go about executing on that to be successful. Because again, a lot of people they concerned about, how am I going to make money? Am I going to replace, my income? And let me tell you, man, I've replaced my corporate income. I mean, I don't have to worry about a corporate job anymore because I've been able to walk away from a successful replace that income. You see, and so if I can do it, you can do it too. And we're not talking about, with these low slave wage jobs or whatever. They ain't making no more than 25, 30,000. You can do that easy, no problem. Just laying down laminate floor. You can do that easy, no problem, just hanging sheetrock. But you just got to have faith. See, when I moved, I had faith that things would work out. If I followed a blueprint and I followed a plan, if I just submitted myself, learned, became an apprentice, learned, applied, and then I knew eventually I'd get the increase. See, it took years. Now I'm getting the increase. But it took time to invest. It took pain. It took endurance. It took suffering short term so that I can benefit long term as well as be a benefit to others. So this is what this is about. This is what we need because we don't have many examples of this. It's sad. We don't have many examples of successful carpentry businesses of especially minority owned. Or I may use that word and be clean, minority owned. On a local level, I just don't see it on Facebook. I don't see it a lot. You see a few here and there, but you don't see it to the levels that we need. We see a lot of people working low wage or low level, entry level truck driving jobs. We see a lot of meat packers. We see a lot of CNAs. We see a lot of Walmart workers. We see a lot of Best Buy workers. We see a lot of big Amazon distribution centers. We see a lot of the people working those jobs. And like I said over and over again, you can't do laminate flooring. You can't do sheetrock. You can't do any of this stuff. I beg to differ. But it's going to take some hard work. It's going to take some faith. It's going to take a detailed game plan. It's always good to, just not go out there. Nobody's asking anybody to go out there on a limb. There's certain things that I had to step out on faith. But with anything that I could plan, anything that I could strategize on and get, and look at it and get the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how, and figure all that stuff out, get a good game plan. Anything that I could do, I did on that level. And then I just allowed the Most High to work out the hedge. And he's worked out the hedge beautifully. It's amazing to look at the month of November. Because business starts to flatten out and decrease during the winter months. Why? Because Christmas is coming up, Thanksgiving is coming up, New Year's is coming up. People are broke. They're not trying to spend any money on any kind of expenditures like that. Right? People will spend the money, but they'll spend the money on unless it's an emergency or something like that. That's why I say find a need and fill it. But this is going from being one of the worst months to one of my best performing months. And I'm not seeing anything slow down. I'm landing bigger jobs and bigger contracts, which is going to require more time, but making more money. It's just a blessing, but it is possible. But you got to have faith, and you got to step out there, and you got to step out in faith, and then you can go ahead and get the increase. You see, and that's the key right there, is to get the increase. But you got to be willing to put in the hard work. So, as I leave you today, I'm going to bless you all. Wish you all a blessed evening. I know Shabbat coming in tomorrow. Stay focused. Stay driven. Stay away from foolishness. Just stay away from all negativity. stay away from all of that stuff and just focus on having a positive mental attitude and implementing clear goals and objectives that's going to get you the increase. If you if you if you if you're dealing with dumb shit, as I say, you're not going to be able to focus on the increases that you have. Let y'all work out whatever it is that is being worked out, and you stay focused on the vision. And so I'm going to close here today. Um, People know, I mean, everybody know I didn't made myself a nice little bar. And let me tell you, man, I like to enjoy the good stuff. And so they have me a cup of this here. I mean, this is just the good stuff. This is that high end stuff. That Belvedere Caribbean Cask, 14 year. I mean, that's just some good stuff right there. I'm gonna crack this bottle open and have me a little sip, taste it. See how that is? This is my first time having it. I mean, I've spent a pretty penny on some high end stuff to enjoy me a nice shot of a whiskey or bourbon, a cognac or gin. I'm telling you, man, it's a good thing to have a good, delicious, strong drink on hand. Aged 14 years. This is the good stuff. It's just a beautiful thing. But I'm going to be doing a little review of some nice high-end cognacs and some bourbons and some whiskeys and stuff. Have a little good time as well. You know what I mean? This is how we enjoy the fruits of our labor. But I'm going to have me some dinner and take it down for the night. But until next time, I thank everybody that is join me in this podcast. So this live stream tonight. Please share it, and again, I'm going to do a better job of coordinating this live stream. And I got to do a couple of videos. I got to invest some time in learning how to do the streams and stuff, and do it all live. And I got the GoPro camera. I got all of this stuff set up, and I was doing it for a while, but I got sidetracked with business. Business just I got so busy, and by the time you get home, and this is what a lot of people are afraid of, that sometimes I get home and I'm so tired, man, I take a shower, go right to bed. It's just tiring work. And a lot of people, that's just not a sexy thing to do in this day and age. I get, I digress again, but I get the notion that, especially a black man working with the labor of his hands, you just get the least amount of respect and admiration from your own people. It's just not looked at as being a valuable service. But let me tell you, men like us, we keep society from falling apart, because anything, a home, a marriage, children, a car, it all needs to be maintained. And if it is not maintained, it will fall apart. So, with that being said, you have a blessed night. Shalom, stay safe, and I will see you next time on the Carpenters Corner. I think we're going to, I don't know what we're going to discuss, but hey, when I put it out, you'll know, and I will see you then. Shalom.